All right. It is November 20th, and it's 5 o'clock on the nose, and it is time for Music Business 101. So we're going to wait for some people to get here. I always like starting these on time. So I know some of you are stuck in internet traffic right now, and you're on your way, especially in LA. We're late for everything, like even virtual stuff. Like LA people are late for Zoom meetings out of their house. It makes no sense. But we're going to wait a few minutes, get some more folks in here. Great show lined up for you guys tonight. I'm going to be talking to a friend of mine and colleague. His name is Erik Abel, and he's had an interesting career. He's an agent, he's a manager, he's been a DJ, and he's been a producer. So Erik Abel will join us about 10 minutes. And the focus of today is really to talk about booking. There's a lot of stuff that's changed just in the last 2 weeks with the vaccines. So, a couple weeks ago when we had Adrian on, there wasn't an announcement of vaccines. So now there is, and I want to talk about with you guys and with Erik how the news of the vaccines will sort of help us figure out what lies in tow for us for touring. When are we going to be able to tour again? When are you guys going to be able to play safely at a live music venue again? So the vaccine news, super exciting. And it does mean, I think, that things live music wise will return to some sort of normalcy everywhere this coming year. It might be later spring, early summer, but you should be able to perform in a club and then get in your van and go to the next city, and then the next city, hopefully late spring, early summer. So, that's encouraging. So we're going to talk to Erik about touring and booking and what he's doing with his famous clients. Like, a lot of these guys rely on touring. A lot of you guys rely on touring. And that revenue, touring and merchandise, has basically disappeared since March for most of you. Some of you still have merchandise. You're able to do it online and whatnot. But for the most part, everyone's touring money went away. And it will be coming back. So we're going to talk about that stuff with Erik. What I want you guys to do, and I'm rolling solo tonight for a lot of reasons. So we've got Buster and David. They're here virtually. They are going to be manning the questions. So if you have questions about anything, just pop them in the comments. The guys are going to be tracking them, and they'll feed me the questions. And I also have questions that some of you already sent in. So we're going to get to all that. So just as a reminder, we do this once a month right here on Instagram Live, and I've got great guests lined up, you guys, for like the next 3 or 4 months. The next one will be December 18th. I'll remind you guys about that as we go through tonight with Topher Christensen, who owns a company similar to SHP that's called T Presents. And so on December 18th, we're going to do promoter to promoter, talking about booking and everything and how to get booked and where to get booked and what venues are open, etc. Then in January, I got my buddy Ty Cannon coming on board. End of January, I believe it's January 29th. He's Dr. Dre and Aftermath's #1 A&R guy. Been a friend for a long time. He'll be on. And then in February, I have Atron Gregory, who was Digital Underground's first manager and Tupac's first manager. So we're going to be talking about this, that, and then, and when, and now, and Pac, and digital, and all that stuff. So there's really cool programming coming up. And I do this for you guys. This is totally free advice. So what we want you to do is we want you to ask us questions. That's why we're here. So Erik will answer questions. I'll answer questions. But this is just for you guys. This is, I've got 25 years in the business, and Erik's got a bunch of years in the business too. So we want you guys to pipe in the comments, ask the questions. The guys are tracking them, and we'll get to all your questions tonight, I promise. And we'll bring Erik on in about 5 minutes. So again, we're going to be talking about booking and touring. And now there's a little glimmer of hope for that stuff because of the vaccines. So, we're going to talk about that stuff. But one thing that in case most of you haven't read yet, some of the bigger companies are going to be implementing proof of vaccine in order to go to a concert. So some people are anti-vaccine, some people are this, that, and the other, but just one thing to keep in mind is we move into this new world is that, and I firmly believe this too, you're going to have to show a proof of vaccine before you're going to be allowed in Coachella. It's just, that's what's going to be. So it'll be when you buy your ticket, you'll have to show proof of vaccine or test results from 2 or 3 days. So everyone pretty much needs to get used to that. But it's encouraging, and gosh, I mean, so what? You show proof of a vaccine. You know, these vaccines are going to work, and I believe in them. But I do believe for larger gatherings, baseball, football, stadium concerts, outdoor festivals, I believe that there will be you'll have to show vaccine proof in order to get into those events. So we're going to talk about that too. And to let you guys know, merchandise-wise, this is one of our hats. We have a whole equality brand. That's what it stands for, equality. And we're making a ton of merch. We've got other stuff, too, on our shpmarket.com. We're going to have a big Black Friday sale starting next Friday. Everything's going to be 20% off. So if you want SHP shirts, hats, that stuff, you'll be able to get it at shpmarket.com for 20% off starting Friday. Now, super important, if you're not getting our newsletters, which we send out on Mondays and Fridays, then there's a link in our bio. I would hit that link right now and put your email in there. That way you can find out about shows that we have coming up, and you can also find out about available gigs, you know, that we're looking for supports on, and other things like that. So also our services, we do marketing and PR. And I do consultations. So if you're looking for that stuff, all that stuff's in the bio, and that's all that. So what I want you guys to do now is start piping some questions in, and I'm going to answer like 2 or 3 questions that I already got the people emailed, and then we're going to bring Erik Abel on in about 3 minutes. Okay. So, but again, this is about you guys. So this is about you guys asking questions. So do it. I know I'm pleasant to look at, especially with my new hair, which is crazy. Yeah, it's white. No haircut since I haven't had a haircut since February. Okay, so it's craziness, but it's COVID. So fuck it. Okay, here's a couple questions, and then we're gonna roll to Erik. Question number 1, it seemed like prior to shutdown, most artists were making their money touring. How are artists supposed to replace that income? Well, it's true. So some of you guys are touring artists. Some of you, you know, that's how you make a good portion of your money. How do you replace that right now until it comes back? Well, we talked about this on the last one, but first and foremost, I really believe you got to have merchandise. You know, it's Christmas and people are going to start buying stuff and gifts, and you got to have a good merch line, which also helps brand for you. So merchandise is an excellent way to make extra money. And I would also encourage doing the live stream shows. We're doing them as promoters. So you guys know we are renting out the venues like we normally do when we put on a show. We're sending offers to agents for their talent to come in and perform and do a live stream. And we are doing merchandise to coincide with that too. So it's sort of the same, except there's no fans. But we're selling tickets online. So a lot of people are hesitant. They don't want to do the live stream. They want people in front of them. You know, it's not always like that. So what I would tell you guys is do a live stream if you have the opportunity, because it could be 6 or 8 months before you're playing a club. And the customers, they're used to live streams. So don't worry about that. We've been selling tickets for live streams, and it's hundreds of them, you know, so it works. And I'll go over the shows we have coming up afterwards. I'm going to bring Erik in right now, okay? This is Erik Abel, you guys. Take the mic. All right, let's get focus noise in there. Yo.
What's up? How you doing,
What's up,
Sean?
man? I haven't seen you since when?
I don't know, like 2019 or something.
No, probably like, wasn't there like a Grammy thing or something at your old office in February, maybe?
Oh yeah, right before this whole thing locked down.
So yeah, so I don't know if you've been watching, but kind of gave a little prelude to what we're going to talk about. But in case you guys don't know it, this is Erik Abel, who is a friend and a colleague, and he owns his own company called Focus Noise. He is the lead agent at the Adler Agency / Mac Agency. So he handles a ton of booking. He also is a manager for Creed Bratton, who is on The Office. What's the name? What's his character on The Office?
Creed Bratton.
That's
He got lucky.
okay. Well, I
Yeah,
can honestly say that I've never watched The Office. I've never seen it.
Yeah,
But we've got Creed Bratton.
He got lucky because they branded him under his real name, and that's actually really helped us in terms of going on the road. But that's funny you bring this up. I don't want to jump right over you, but when we first booked Creed, remember what happened?
We had to cancel it.
We had to cancel. Right? We weren't selling any tickets, and then we booked him like 2 years later and sold it out.
Yeah, I mean, at least you gave us another chance. I've had plenty of hits and misses over the years. That'll go in the book for sure. I remember
we tried to book it at a comedy club the first time. That's why.
Comedy store. I think it was a comedy store.
Comedy store, right? And then
if we would book it right now and things were normal, it would go off. Like the comedy store, especially with the documentary, is like when that comedy store opens back up, everyone's going to be down with that place.
Right.
So I want to just ask you quickly, sort of like how you got into everything. I know you started in 2012 as an agent.
Mm-hmm. Sounds right.
Okay, so give us your path to where you are now. And you're from Portland, Oregon originally?
I'm from Portland, and I started out actually as an MC and a DJ and a producer. I was opening a ton of shows around the Northwest. We were traveling around the West Coast and into Montana, Idaho, all that stuff, playing shows, and eventually kind of realized I needed to move to New York, LA. And I moved to New York, got a job with a company I had a 2-hour commute to go to work every day, back 2 hours there, 2 hours back. I took a train to a bus. Train to a bus to another train to get to work. And then it was outside of the city, but they had Wu-Tang at the time.
And this was the international artist and Steve Brush, right?
Stephen Brush's company, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, they had Wu-Tang Clan. I was like, this is an opportunity. It wasn't, a high-paying gig, and it wasn't like, it wasn't in the city, but I just knew that I had to do something to kind of
How'd you find out about it?
LinkedIn. I saw it posted on LinkedIn.
They were like, we're looking for talent agents?
Yeah, and I don't think many people are willing to go out to Nyack, New York. So
yeah,
I think that helped. And and then it was weird because I got the job, and then I ended up getting a gig running merch on a tour, and almost lost the job in the meantime. And I don't know, it's like all these kind of side hustles. I was like hustling beats, like licensing them up for commercials and stuff, just trying to do anything I could. And that's how I ended up landing there.
So, that's how we met. Because we started booking some of the Wu-Tang guys through you in that company. And I remember specific to Wu-Tang, and for those of you old heads that are in here, really in the early 2000s, the venues, I can speak for Los Angeles and Phoenix mostly, they were really afraid of booking, of doing Wu-Tang shows, or even just Ghostface or RZA or Raekwon. I've done all of them, including ODB and Method Man, which is literally every time I had to fight in order to do one of those shows. We had to get police cars just because hip hop wasn't really accepted, and Wu-Tang Clan sounded scary. This is the early 2000s, 2002 to 2008. It was still, people were sketched out. But we met because you started emailing me and Brush, and we started buying, I believe we went on a whole Wu-Tang run with you guys. Like,
we definitely did Meth and Red together. Yeah, I kind of got there at the tail end. Like after I got there, Wu-Tang left pretty quickly.
yeah,
And so, I went out there because they had Wu-Tang Clan, and then they didn't. And then he's got me making calls on Abamania and stuff, which was not.
yeah.
That's not my thing.
But inevitably, that's how we met, and
Right.
that's how you work with Jamie Adler, who's one of my best friends,
Yeah.
and you've been stellar over there. So you you got into agencies, and then how did you meet Creed Bratton, and how did that whole thing happen?
So, well, first of all, let me thank you because you were one of the first people who kind of answered my calls, and I had no idea what I was doing. And
Oh,
you
you're
all,
welcome. At SHP, we answer every call, every email. So some of you emailed us and we didn't get it. Just keep emailing us. We get back to everybody.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. So Creed, he had a show in Boston, and Steve asked if I could drive him up to Boston and just go like tour manage the show, basically. So I was like, why not? And yeah, we went up to Boston and we just clicked. And pretty soon after you mentioned Jamie, I moved to the West Coast and kind of saw the writing on the wall. Like Stephen Brush was like, "Oh, you're gonna have to come back to New York. Or I don't know if we can make this work." And Jamie was like, "Just come work with me. Like you've got a few artists. I still had Slum Village. I had a few others." And
Yeah.
Jamie's like, "You can come book Bone Thugs and Harmony with me."
What was Steve Brush trying to sign Creed?
So he had Creed. Initially he did, and him and Creed. Like I don't know, Creed and I just stayed close, and it just kind of didn't work between them. And so I wasn't necessarily trying to like poach Creed, but
Yeah.
when I moved to LA, we had some conversations, and we're like, let's just work. And I tour managed him for 3 years as well. I didn't just.
I
book
remember
him.
seeing your pictures of you guys driving all over the country.
We had a blast, and it was it's one of those shows that he's on stage by 8. We're back in the hotel. We have a glass of wine, and we're back in the hotel by 10. And asleep. It was amazing.
So, now was there any backlash from Steve Brush and the agency when this went down?
No, I'm still cool with Steve. It was just, they didn't, he has his own roster. I don't think Creed was like, it wasn't a big deal to him, and Creed and I just became tight. Like we became like real friends. So
yeah,
it's just kind of, sometimes things go certain ways and there's no malicious intent,
Cool. Now, I want to start getting into some of these questions because we had viewers, listeners send us questions via email. And also, I want you guys to pipe in like with questions. I love all you guys, and I like the what up, Sean, what up, Eric's. But this is your time to ask questions because I charge for this shit on consultations. So I would do it now for free and get two people's opinions who have been in the business for a very long time. I want to go through a couple questions with you. But I want to just, before I do that, I want to talk about, you had a podcast called the Indie Playbook, and you had me on it a couple years ago, and you were interviewing industry folks and artists and stuff. So what's up with that, and where can people find that? Because you did a good one on me. I mean, a lot of people have listened to that.
It's on all the different podcast sites, I did like 17 episodes. And it was mostly kind of, behind the scenes people in the music industry. I did a couple artists, like I did Crooked Eye and I did Some Kid Trey.
So who are some of the other people, like industry folks that were on it, so the viewers can check it out?
I did one with Steve Lobel. I did one with Jamie. I did one with Mike Shahade. Jen De Leon, who's with Ski. Who else did I do? But Crooked Eye was a great one too. Yours was a great one. There's a lot of gems that came out of it.
Yeah, I got to go back and listen to that, but I heard it was good.
Yeah, Thomas Cousins. I did one with him when I was in Santa Cruz at the Catalyst. Yeah, there's like 17 episodes, and it's.
So where do they find that?
Yeah, just find it like, if you have like the podcast app on your phone. I don't know if it's on Spotify or anything, but I know it's on the podcast app. and Stitcher and all those other ones. So
Cool.
it's, if you put in the Indie Playbook, I'm sure you can find it.
I want to grab this guy's question real quick because
Okay.
before it goes away. If my school doesn't have a music business as a major, would marketing and PR with a minor in communication still get me a job in the music industry?
It's really hard for me because I majored in anthropology, and I don't, there's a lot of people around in our industry that didn't even go to college.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to be the guy who says don't go to college, because I thought college was amazing. I had a great time. But I think if you can pick out majors that are at least applicable, and I think marketing clearly is, I think PR clearly is, communications is. So I mean, I think you can do that, and then you can figure out a way to get involved in the music scene on the side, whether you're
Yeah.
throwing shows,
Yeah, I
whether
would
you've got a
definitely,
radio show.
I 100% agree with you. For those of you younger viewers, you know, none of us really, studied to be where we're at right now. So you don't really go to college to be an agent. You don't really go to college to be a manager. So as that listener put it, you find other avenues into the music business by gaining just general experience. So yes, studying publicity, studying marketing will all help you once you fall into music.
And I see Nick, our boy Nick, put CSUN has a
Yeah,
master's program.
I mean,
And he
it's just,
graduated with a master's there.
I wonder what the percentage is. I wonder if anyone ever did a study of like what percentage of people who had a major that they graduated in ended up in their field when they were 30.
I don't know, man.
It's got to be less than 50%, right?
Probably. I mean, year by year, if I went back, I couldn't predict what the next year was going to bring, and it's just kind of. I don't think I'd want to know exactly what the future holds, because that's part of the enjoyment of life. I will.
Yeah.
I will say this though, like I did get involved in the music things in college, so I had a radio show. I ran like the hip hop club that like threw concerts. So I did stuff like that to be involved.
Which, yeah,
And,
if any of you guys are students and things return to some sort of normalcy, get involved in all of that. The college concerts, get involved in all the programming, college radio. That'll
yeah,
just keep you in the mix, and you'll gain valuable experience, because we as employers, we look for that. So when I look for interns or we're looking to hire, I look to see what your experience is. Even if you're like, I have a bachelor of science, but if you worked at the college radio station or you were involved in the college live concerts, I'm interested in that. So
right.
that's for an employer, that's good. So for you kids out there that are, let's say you're a math major or you're a science major and you're like, my parents made me do this, so I really want to be in music. Go do those things. Join those clubs. Do the extra stuff.
Yeah, show some initiative. That helps.
How can we best? Here's a question for you. How can we best get connected to bookings? We have dope music, but we need more exposure and connection in the industry. How do we connect with booking agents?
I mean, it's a broad question, because it really depends on how much like work you've done on your own. But I will say, I've had people hit me up and I really like their music, but they haven't even, played a show in their hometown, and there's nothing to gauge it on. And you got to understand, like, I'm basically a salesman. So if I'm going to you, Sean Healy, and saying, I want you to book this guy, he's incredible, what are you going to ask me? The first thing is,
Right. How many tickets is he worth?
Exactly. That's the only question that matters.
But let's pause that for some people that are in here that don't understand how the booking world works. Okay.
Well, I just want to explain it to them, and then we can kind of backtrack. But yes, I don't want to like dash your dreams, because we all got to take a step at a time, right? But I would say, and because I was also a local artist and did a ton of shows, including opening for people, including renting the venues and doing shows ourselves, was we would partner with 3-4 other acts and throw a show where we all brought 30 people, and all of a sudden now in a small venue you've got a packed little show, And if you can do that consistently, and then you can go to other promoters in your town and tell them, you know, we can bring 30, 40 people. And we're willing to promote our ass off, because I think that also sets you apart. Because you know how many people aren't, they want to perform, they want to show up and be a star, but they don't want to actually work.
Right.
So,
And we see that with people that are famous, that sell a bunch of
all the
records
time.
and streams, but
Yeah.
they can't sell a ticket.
Right. No, you'd be shocked sometimes where you're like, how do you have 20 million followers on Instagram and you sold 20 tickets in this town?
So I think what Erik's trying to say, and we'll move on to the questions, is if you're going to get a booking agent, the booking agent is going to want to know how much money you're going to generate at the door, not how much you're going to rock the place and how great your music is. Now, I say this on all these podcasts, great music will always find its way. Mm-hmm. So if you're good and you have never played a show, but you're putting your music on SoundCloud or Spotify, it will and could and should find its way to people that can help you. But yes, when you're an artist, you're a business too. So you have to be business minded, and you have to position yourself to where there's fans that will listen to your music.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, there's just no shortcuts for hard work. You have to put in the work. And I feel like the people who somehow randomly get one hit and haven't ever touched the stage, they're just not ready for it. You know, you can tell someone who's seasoned, who's already built their following organically, and now they've got this following that's going to follow them for 20 years down the road and still show up for their shows. I think there's something to putting in that work and appreciating it. And also, like, those shows where you're kind of just grinding it out, you're driving from town to town, sleeping on couches, like, that's some of the most fun times. And it's just really building you. It's making you stronger. So I wouldn't skip any of those steps.
What would you recommend for students that are looking for possible work in the industry internship wise?
Just hit someone up that you really respect their work. Just hit them up and know what they're doing. Offer something that you can bring to the table that they might not be thinking of. Like, Sean and I are both busy. If some young person came to us and said, you know, I can do X, Y, and Z for you, and this is how I would do it, you know, we're going to give them a shot probably, you know, unless we just have no time to even kind of like communicate.
Yeah.
But I'm going
to add to what you're saying regarding internships, because I know you guys have them too, but we have usually when life is normal, we have 4 to 6 a year.
Right.
My advice to you, there's a plane coming over me. I'm outside.
Okay.
So here's the deal with internships, guys. My suggestion, go to a boutique place where you'll actually learn and hear conversations. If you take an internship at iHeartRadio or Capitol Records, you're probably not going to hear the conversations you would hear if you were interning for, Mac Agency or Focus Noise or SHP. Our interns literally are in the room when we're on the phone making deals. So yeah. Internship wise, look for the boutique places where you'll really get hands-on experience. I know that like interning at Def Jam and Sony Records and all that stuff sounds really sexy and it looks good on the resume, but the employers will know and they'll ask you about it, and then you're going to say, well, I did data entry or I was in the mail room, which is fine, but at a boutique spot, you're going to have a better chance to learn hands-on.
Yeah, that's a good point. We let our interns sit in on important meetings sometimes. And Nick Ospina, who was on here, I don't know if he still is, but he started as an intern, and now like I couldn't live without him. And I know Jamie would say the same thing. So I think he made himself invaluable. And I think that's a great, it's just a great example of what that could be, what it could become.
Well, I've hired interns. So like Buster.
So do we. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Buster started off as an intern. He's on here now, and he's part of the family, and I rely on him like crazy.
Right.
Right. How do you manage your image when you are unsigned, when you're playing venues, media, photo, video? does the artist put forth a specific request? Seem needy. I'm not sure
Oh,
about that
in
question.
terms of like what imaging you use,
I
like for
guess, yeah. I
flyers and
mean,
things like that.
I guess what your image is when you're playing.
Yeah, I mean, you should control your image. You shouldn't let them just put up a picture you don't like of yourself.
Yeah,
I think some artists are a little bit much where they're like, I don't like that picture, take it down. No, I don't like that picture either, take it down. But I think like it's your image, it's who you are. If there's a picture you don't want out there to the public, that's not going to be your best representation. Then pull it.
yeah. Okay, well, this one, I mean, I think we know, but I think it'd be good to hear from your perspective. So,
Mhm.
what role does a booking agent play in an artist's career?
I mean, generally, it's just they run your touring. So everything that has to do with live music, they're the person you go to. So if you're planning to put out an album and you have the right type of agent that's actually interested in your career, they want to know so we can plan a tour around your album and
Right.
make sure that everything, PR is hitting at the right time. The album's coming out. You're touring to promote the album, to sell the album. The merch is ready. We should be hands on, and we should be working as a team if it's done correctly. A lot of times, because we're a boutique agency, we kind of go above and beyond in terms of helping people figure out getting a bus or hotels or just we set artists up to collab with each other. We're friends with a lot of the artists and the managers that we work with, so it's maybe we go
Which,
above and beyond, but
which
generally,
brings me to a
yeah.
question. And I, as a promoter, I've been forced to do it. There's a thing or a term in our business called baby acts that agents put on their headliners' tours. So, quickly or briefly, explain to me what a baby act is and how I can become a baby act, and what's the purpose of it?
I mean, that's a good point. That is an opportunity for a young artist to possibly make it, right? Like if you've got an agent who believes in you and has an act that's similar in sound that you can steal some of their fans possibly, then I would put you on a tour with one of my bigger acts. And, you probably wouldn't get paid for it. You'd probably go out and just sell merch and do the whole tour for free, but it's an opportunity to gain fans and kind of have your name seen next to this bigger artist in the same vein.
Now, I am. Let's say I'm an artist and I just finished an album and I don't really have an agent, but me and the drummer were contacting all the clubs and we just sort of were able to route a little tour. But how do we pick what cities we should play? How does an
Well,
artist pick, how does an artist pick what cities, and how does an agent pick what cities?
this is a great question. So when I was an artist, I didn't know. I would just go play wherever I could possibly get in the door. Now you have analytics. If you go to your Spotify, you can see your top 50 cities. You can start with the top five that are in your region that are drivable. And so if I'm in LA, I'm gonna, and the Bay is solid, Phoenix is solid, San Diego is solid. I want to make sure that I'm hitting them maybe a couple times a year and building up my fan base there, and then from there spreading out. And I think that's important.
And you can get all that on your Spotify. So, I say this on all these, the top two things people ask me about. And the top two things really, I mean, that the industry is looking for, they want to see what your Spotify is. They want to see how many people are listening to your music, and they want to see what your socials look like, your real socials. They want to see your Instagram. They would rather you have 2,000 real Instagram followers than 50,000 and no verified check mark and nobody interacting and no comments.
Right.
So, Instagram, Spotify, super, super important, you guys, to build those. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
okay, I think you already answered this, but I'll read it off again. I have fans, but I don't know anyone in the business. So how do I book a show?
Well, you have fans, so that's the start. So what I would do is figure out the local venues that have smaller acts that play, that maybe have a capacity of 100, maybe 200 max, and I would contact them and I would say, I can bring X amount of people, and I would also, try to, like I said, connect with artists that are similar sounding, so you're not all it's the load isn't completely shouldered on your shoulders, and try to pack the place. But I think those rooms, just like any other rooms, they need to book their nights. They need
Yeah.
people in there drinking. So,
Yep.
you
That's the
know,
whole thing. So
right.
for you younger artists out there, at the end of the day, it's it's really about bar sales for the most part. Um, these
Right.
venues, these live venues, they're reliant on how many drinks are sold. So they love your music and they're cool with all that. But at the end of the day, most of these venues, they pay their bills from the bar,
Hmm.
especially the smaller places. So your little small hometown spot, they're making their money not from the door, they're making it from the bar. So if you're not bringing people, they don't make money at the bar, they're probably not going to have you back. If it's one of those places that's based on bands draw. Now some places have natural draws and the places are always packed and you can put a cover band up or whatever, and those are all good. But in general, you guys, the live music club circuit is based on alcohol sales. And that's the same with the comedy circuit. It's when you ever go to a comedy club and you have to have two drinks,
Right.
the live music venues would love for you to come in there and have to spend two drinks. They would love it, but it's hard to
Right.
enforce.
Right.
So
Right. But it's also, once you get that venue and you get that night, even if it's a Tuesday night or whatever they're willing to give you, bust your ass, make
yeah,
sure everyone is in there, make
yep,
sure you're meeting new people, and if you need to pay for ads, targeted ads, geo-targeted ads on Facebook, whatever, do it. If you need to go hand out flyers hand to hand in the streets, it's
100%, one
you
hundred
got to
percent.
bust your ass.
Have a birthday party, do a
Right.
birthday party or somebody's like reunion or someone's getting married or whatever it takes. As tell these local bands when we're booking the local bands, same thing. If you're not bringing your people, don't expect the other band's people to stick around. But
Right.
if the other band before you brought a bunch of people and then they start seeing your people walk through the door, then you got two crowds. And those earlier people probably aren't leaving. If they see more people, they're going to stick. It's more fun and they'll meet other people.
Right. It's a party all of a
Uh,
sudden.
yeah. This is sort of a loaded question, and I'll let you go first. But how have you seen the concert industry change in the last 20 years?
I mean, I think a lot of it's went online. At least in terms of promotions, I was just talking about hand-to-hand flyers, and we used to put up posters. Like we would, if I was doing a show in Portland, we'd put up like 2,000 posters all around the city. I don't see anyone doing that anymore, really. And
Mm-mm.
I feel like if you would, you're going to stand out because there aren't a million people doing that. But in terms of the marketing, it's all online. That's been the biggest difference. I still feel like you need to get out and go touch your fans. You need them to see you. You can't just rely on putting music out online and keeping those fans. They have to get to meet you. I guess the meet and greet situations become more prevalent where people
Yeah.
will pay a little bit of a lift to be able to meet their
Yeah.
favorite artists and take pictures.
I think you nailed it. Obviously, everything online, from marketing to promo to selling tickets is basically all online. Print advertising. I remember back in the 2000s, the early 2000s, I used to spend $1,000 a week at the LA Weekly, and we would run
Right.
quarter page ads of we had Ghostface and DJ Quik and Slick Rick and whoever we had, but we had to do print advertising because that's where people look for concerts. So every Thursday you picked up the LA Weekly and you were like, oh, okay. And as a promoter, you'd be like, oh, damn, they got that show. We wanted that show.
Right.
How did I not get RZA and Raekwon? How did the Roxy get it? So print advertising has gone by the wayside. everything's digital, which is easier and cheaper. And like you said, a Facebook ad you can spend $25 and reach thousands of people.
Right.
So I would agree with you on that. I will say this though, in the booking world, booking is still done old school. A lot of companies have tried platforms where they can do online booking and we'll get you all these shows, and it's never worked. I don't think there's been one that's worked. So booking, like what Erik does and what I do and SHP does, is still email, phone call. Hey, you
Yeah.
want to play the show? Okay, here's the deal. They're going to pay you $500. Okay, it's $5 a head. Can you do November 30th? So booking is still done. I call it hand to hand, but it's still done on the phone and it's done on email. I would be hesitant, you guys, if you see something that's like, we're an online booking company, pay us $50 a month and we'll submit you for all the gigs around the country.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, they should be making 10% on everything they book. It should just be a commission.
Yeah, I mean, but there's companies
pay.
there's companies that are out there that have always tried to be like an online booking, like a We Book Bands, but online only. Our company, you call us, we call you back, you email, et cetera. So I think that's, something that's super, super important, is that people realize in the booking world, it's still done, done by phone, mostly phone and email and then a phone call.
Yeah. So a lot about the relationships that we all have.
Is there a major difference in booking newer artists compared to some of the older school artists like DJ Quik and Ghostface?
Is there a difference in booking them? I mean, the process.
Comparing a newer artist, maybe a younger artist, compared to an older school artist.
I mean, okay, I will say this. I see Jamie's like typing Rucci down there because he's obsessed with him. But I will say this. There's a difference in a sense of, I think old school artists have a different mentality where part of it's like, you've been doing this for years, you're a little bit jaded, you're burnt out, whatever. You're just like, it's about like, what can I see on the front end? How much money am I going to make? That's the simple question, really. That's mostly what they care about. And younger artists, I think, are willing to take more, they'll roll the dice a little bit more. Like, I know I can make more money on the back end if I take less up front. Okay, I think I can sell the tickets. And I think there's more willingness to take that gamble from some of the younger artists and just be more involved in terms of the promotions. I think the old school mentality is it's a promoter's job to promote me. Like, why do I have to post this? Why do I have to send a video drop? I'm not saying everyone's like that, but I think in general, and I think younger artists are more willing to promote themselves because they know it's important.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And I think that, the deals, I mean, all the deals are changed anyway. So like, if we were doing this last year, we would be like, yeah, there's this type of deal, this type of deal, and this type of deal. And now, because of COVID and so many businesses have been destroyed, that a lot of these bigger promoters are not going to be offering these juicy guarantees that they were like last year. Obviously, your Post Malones and, Tyler, the Creator, big names are still going to get their money. But like some of these artists that, are not really stadium acts, they're sort of in between. Is that your daughter?
My daughter. Awesome. All right, you got to go in the other room, baby.
Somebody's asking what's the most effective promotion, posters or Facebook ads? I think we alluded to that. Posters are a thing of the past. They were great. I loved them. I'm sure you did too, but I think everything now is Facebook ads, Instagram ads.
I mean, you can just target your audience a lot better, knowing exactly what age you're targeting, a radius around the city you're targeting. It's just easier. You know what their interests are. So yeah, it's definitely the way to go. Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. Okay. So this has always been a controversial subject, so we'll address it. Thoughts on pay to play model. I'll let you go first, and then I'll pipe in on my end.
So it's funny because when I had you on my podcast, we talked about that a long time ago. As an artist, I would never have done it personally. And maybe that's the old school mentality in me. I just felt like I would rather go bust my ass and put up thousands of posters around the city than actually pay someone out of pocket to play a show. Now, I know that's not exactly the model you guys had, and it's kind of changed over the years, but I just wasn't interested in trying to sell tickets. That wasn't what I was wanting to do. I think now a lot has changed in terms of there's people, you see artists like you talked about opening on a tour, right? These baby acts. Some of them are paying to be in that slot. So, you know, if they're getting 20 dates around the country, instead of putting that money towards some other way of marketing, they might decide it's worth it for me to hit 20 cities and play in front of a bunch of fans. It kind of depends on where you think your money is best spent.
Right. So, and now I'll address it too, because it's clearly something that we have done for many years. Now, we don't use the term pay to play. Pay to play, at least to me, means you gave somebody money. Here's my money. Put me on stage.
Right.
And I've never been down with that. I am down with, if you're going to perform, I rented this club and it cost me thousands. And if you have to promise me you're going to bring people. And in the early days, I would do the handshake deal. Be like, okay, cool, dude, bring 30 people, $5 a head. We're going to take out $100 for the sound guy or whatever. And I would do that. And some of these bands would bring 2 people. And I'd be in a club and the owner of the club would be looking at me like, what is this? So we had to safety net our investment. So with what SHP did is we would rent the Roxy or the Viper Room or whatever for thousands of dollars, you guys. It's not, they don't just give you the club. You have to rent these places for thousands of dollars. I've spent up to $25,000 to rent a venue. So if I'm spending, let's just say it's $5 grand. If I'm spending $5 grand to rent the Roxy, I'm not taking your word for it that you can bring people. I can't.
Well, and every artist knows this feeling, but it might not even be bad intentions on their part. They might really think they can bring 40 people and all their friends say, I'm going to show up. Of course I am. And then 2 people show up and you're like stuck holding the bag. But yeah, they're not the ones spending the money on the venue, the sound man, everyone else.
So I always say to the band, okay, because there's a lot of like, oh, I'm never paying to play. I'm never doing this. I don't do that. But then all of a sudden an opportunity comes across and you're like, oh, I'll do that. I love that dude. And I know that place is going to be popping. So before you say no, I always say this: you do what's best for your band, which is your brand. So if an opportunity comes across that's like really good, I would take it no matter what you have to do. Now, for some of you that are still like, oh, pay to play, there's bands on Warped Tour that pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to be on Warped Tour. There are bands that pay thousands of dollars to be on Rolling Loud. You guys need to know this. It goes on in a corporate level too. It doesn't just go on with We Book Bands and yada, yada, yada. There are corporate, truly pay to play where you don't get tickets. You just give us the money and we put you on stage.
Yeah, and remember too, if you're on a major label, they're allocating money for tour support, and guess who has to pay that back? That's not free money. So you're still paying for those slots.
Yeah. So I mean, look, don't sell tickets or pay to play or commit to something that you're not 100% sure on that will benefit your career. If you think it'll benefit your career and it's a financial investment, do it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because that credit will be on your resume forever. And I'm telling you right now, I've had people pre-sell tickets for Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Big Sean, you name it. One Republic, Sarah Bareilles. Yes, I've had bands open up for those people that had to commit to doing tickets. So before you say no and it's the worst, those people that open for those guys for the rest of their lives can say, I played a show with Kendrick. I opened for Kendrick in Scottsdale.
Right. I would just say do your due diligence, because you know, there are middlemen, scummy people out there who are saying they're offering these slots and taking $300 a pop.
Of course. And now you see it on Instagram. Yeah. So to Erik's point, research it. Trust the company that's booking you. Don't just give some dude money.
Right.
Do it with an established agent or manager or booker. You know, we we're reputable with that. So not our stuff's never not played and not whatever. So that
Yeah.
let's get off that subject, but do what's right for your band. Um,
Yeah.
this is a good question, but how do like some of your artists are older heritage acts? Let's just say heritage. It's a shitty word, but some of them are.
I call it
So how
legends,
do
but I
they
hear that one.
legends?
Yeah.
So how do they deal with dwindling? Some of them obviously have dwindling audiences. How do you deal with that? How does
I
the
mean,
artist deal with it?
dude, you gotta. It's very different for different people, but you gotta put your ego in check. I mean, it's a hard fall to go from selling out stadiums to you see some of these rooms where maybe they're getting 200 people 10 years later. Um, but it's like if you want to keep working, you gotta accept it and accept where you're at. It's hard when some of your colleagues have continued to grow and you've kind of plateaued and went downhill in terms of your draw. But it's I think it's about the ego. Like, did you do this in the beginning because you love to make music and you love to perform, or did you do it because you wanted to be a superstar and you wanted a bunch of money?
Yeah.
you know you're still lucky that you have a music career and fans that want to see you all over the world. Just I always feel like just appreciate what you have and then you can't be mad about it.
Have you had tough conversations with artists that are still like wanting money they got like 10 years ago and that?
I mean, honestly, those conversations kind of turn me off, and I don't really, I, as an agent, a manager, and I'm sure you can attest, like you want to deal with people that appreciate what you do and who are friendly and kind. You don't want to deal with pain in the asses that are going to bitch and moan about everything. And so for me, like I put my energy into artists that appreciate me and appreciate my work. Even if it's just like a subconscious thing, I just do that because I care about those people. They care about me. It's not just about like, what can I get from you and why am I not getting enough? And why didn't they cover all these ridiculous things on my rider? Those kind of things turn me off of the conversation. I'm like, all right, well then just go do what you need to do. Cause obviously I'm not the right person for you.
Well, what tips can you give in regards to keeping your longevity in the music business?
I think consistent touring is important. I think if you drop off, or okay, here's a good example. If you're one of those artists that say you got like $50,000 one time for a gig, right? And then
Right.
you're like, now that's my number, right? I'm not taking anything less than that. But really, you're worth $10,000 worth in tickets. You're just delusional, and you're going to take that those big hits maybe once every 3 months, but you're never going to develop that consistent touring career. Those fans that are going to come out time after time, and you put that work in and you grow together, like it's a very different path. And I think I can see the difference between the people who were just waiting on those bags versus the people who really grinded it out for years and just they have an organic fan base that's willing to support them no matter what.
Yeah, I think that's well put. Um, do you find it easier to establish professional relationships with older artists or new ones?
Um, I mean, it really depends on the person. Like we booked. I work with an artist named Killah Raps out of Dallas, right? He's a young dude that's very up and coming and super talented, and is like to me he's mature beyond his years, right? So
Right.
it's like I see a lot of myself in him, the way he handles himself. Like if I was around or not, he would be getting stuff done. He'd be on point. But I wanted to work with him because I appreciate how like thoughtful he is about every move he makes. Plus his music, is great. I'd say the same thing about Coda. Like these guys are very smart. They're young, but they're like they know exactly where they want to go in their career. So I wouldn't say like young versus old. I really think it depends on the individual.
Got it. Um, do you what's your take on virtual shows, and have you booked any? I know we haven't really done anything, but I know there's talks about it. But what's your
We've
take
been
on it?
talking. Uh, I don't think it'll ever replace the live experience, and I'm hoping we can get back to that soon. I will do it if it makes sense. I don't want an artist to just take money and just go perform in a room with no thought into what they're doing, because I don't think that serves anyone well. But if they're willing to like put some time and effort into production, um, we're working on one that I can't really discuss yet because it's not finalized, but it would be a big anniversary show that hopefully we will figure out in the next week or so. And if we do that, it'll have the right production, it'll have special guests, it'll be a real show. And I think if you're willing to do that, it's worthwhile.
What do you think
But if
about the smaller acts though? Like what about Kalen and
we've talked about it. Same kind of thing. I think if he's, and we've talked about it, if he's willing to put in the time into production and making it a real show that his fans will
yeah?
appreciate, it's got to be worth their while, right? They're spending money to watch you on their phone, so
Because the
it just
reality
can't
is,
be. Yeah,
the reality is that everyone, pretty much every artist, not every, let's say 90%, 90% of the artists will have not have performed for a full year,
right.
virtual or
That's real.
live.
Yeah.
Okay, so my take on this is, and we're booking virtual shows, and we have to talk to the agents. We have to be like, look, you got to do this because people will buy tickets, and if we tie in a hat, they'll
Right.
buy that, So, and if you do a theme, like we have some Christmas virtual shows that we're going to be doing at the Troubadour and the Mint and stuff like that. So we are actively doing them. It is hard to get the agents, managers, and artists to be on board with it. But the reality is, yes, some of these people have not and will not perform for over a year. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's a hunger for it in the audience world to at least see the artists that when we did one with Coda, we did with you guys, we did like
Yeah.
800 tickets or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was over 800. Yeah. That was funny that we were the promoter on your show with the artists that you manage. There's a little reversal of roles, but yeah, I agree. I think if you're a younger artist and you're really trying to get your name out, take some chances, do some stuff. Like you have an opportunity now where maybe you can stand out on an online platform where you could do something different, but just don't do the same old stuff that everyone's doing.
But do you
Don't
think as we go into January and February and March, there's still not shows? So what are you telling your clients?
I mean, if they want to do it, we'll do it. I'm happy to present them any offers and any options that they
Okay, so
can.
my next question is, is there a volume of offers that you're getting for
There's
your
not a
clients?
there's not a volume, but I'm getting hit up. There's a few different companies that are doing them. I'm getting hit up, a couple emails a week about different artists.
Right.
So I'm not, I don't know. I think to be honest, I think I wore myself out at the beginning of this whole thing by rerouting tours 3-4 times, and I just was like, you know what, I got to just chill.
Yeah.
And I've, personally kind of taken to just being artistic again and not spending a bunch of time banging my head into the walls. So I feel like that's just me, because I just kind of got to that point. But I'm happy to do if something makes sense, I'm happy to do it. And if an
So,
artist wants to do it.
right. So we're going to wrap up in a second. So just for some of the newer people, explain, how does it work? So how does it, how does the artist get booked? How does one of your clients get booked?
All right. So in terms of virtually or
No, in general.
okay. All right. I'm gonna pick my daughter
Kalen
up,
Raps.
which is right back here. But let me explain.
Kalen Raps. How do we book? How does somebody book Kalen Raps?
Okay. So as a promoter, or they're an artist similar to him?
No, a promoter. Somebody wants to do a show with Kalen Raps.
Okay. So they would reach out to me. They can email me.
How would they get to you?
They can email me at focusednoise@gmail.com.
Are you on his Instagram?
I am on his Instagram. They
Okay.
can go to. I'm on his Instagram. I'm on Chris Webby's Instagram.
Okay, good.
Um, some people I'm not, but people just know that I'm the agent to talk to. So they would reach out to me. I'm pretty responsive, and they would say, I want to book this artist, but they have to be very clear with what they want. So like, I want to do something this date in this city in this venue. Because like, I think a lot of times what happens when people are green at this, they'll reach out with no details, and they'll just
Yeah,
be like, "How much does it cost to book Kalen Raps?"
right.
I'm like you're not even telling me how much you're charging for tickets, what's the capacity? Like we have to do the math here and figure out how much you're going to make on the show because you're not going to make 10 times what the artist makes on their show. So, you reach out with the details. What am I thinking about ticket price wise? What's the capacity? What venue? What city? What date I'm thinking, or at least date range? And then we can start a conversation, and that's how we get there.
Cool. And now, just to finalize things, how do you see touring when it comes back?
Yeah, well, I mean, I heard you talking a little bit about the vaccine, and I saw that with Ticketmaster. I did see it too, like, it's not necessarily that you have to show proof of vaccine. It might be that you also can show that you've had a negative test in the
Yeah,
past
results.
24 to 72
It'll
hours.
be one of the two of those you'll have to show when you buy a ticket and when you go there.
I personally believe there should be both options. That's just me because, not everyone wants to take the vaccine, especially right away.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd wait a few months to kind of make sure that there's no like crazy side effects, but I think it's hopeful. I think we now have a couple companies that are over 90%. And it's, the conversations I've been having are that by the end of summer 2021, if not before, we should be looking at having, at least some outside shows, but hopefully we can even have some kind of spaced out indoor shows by then.
When do you, so you, in your opinion, you're thinking end of summer next year for outdoor and indoor?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's the conversations I've been having, but I don't know. Everyone has a different answer to this.
Yeah,
And
because I sort of agree. I'm like, how do you put a bunch of people in a room right now? And I know in certain states, some of you guys are in Texas and Florida and this, that, and the other, and people can go to shows, but the shit's exploding there too. And sooner or later, it's gonna change.
they're going to pull that back, and those shows aren't going to continue. I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen videos of Atlanta where the club just looks like nothing
I've
anymore.
seen Dallas, 1,500 people in a room with no masks. So
It's
people are spreading it.
Look, I'm old, and if I was 21, I don't know how I'd live my life, but I think, in terms of us actually getting this under control, we're going to have to really like all work together to make this happen.
And now, how do you route a tour? Like, do you have some of your clients saying, "Hey, route me a tour. I heard there's a vaccine."
No, my clients I've had pretty honest conversations with, and I actually lost an artist that came to me at the beginning of this whole thing, and then they're like trying to like, we need to work, and I'm
Yeah,
just like, it's just there's people out there willing to do that. There's people out there who want to make a buck no matter what the situation is. I'm just not that guy.
yeah,
So for me, it's tricky because when it first started, you'd have like, well, this city can allow gatherings for 200. This one's 100. This one's 50. So you know how it is. We put together a budget for the whole tour, and if one, two, three shows drop out, now all of a sudden it's kind of endangering the whole tour. So we kind of need all the cities that we're planning to be able to function in the capacity we need to be able to make the tour work. So until they can, it's going to be tough for us to really reroute some of these tours.
yeah. I mean,
And
that's the whole thing. I think it's going to start regionally with, okay, Sacramento's open, San Francisco's open, and LA's open, so I can do a 3-day tour for you.
right,
So I
right, and
mean, I think
we got
regionally,
to do those things for sure.
right? But doing a 30 or 40 city tour, um, I see something like that is not even possible next year, even with the vaccine, because some of those markets aren't going to be open.
Yeah.
or they're
Yeah.
going to be limited, you know?
It's tricky, like, because like we have shows, like we have tours in Canada and Europe, and I don't even know if they're going to let artists from the U.S. go to those countries. You know,
No.
like we're like the plague everyone wants to avoid at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, well, I want to thank you for your time, man. This was really great, and hopefully
Yeah,
everyone
thanks for having me.
got some advice. And tell everyone again where they can get Indie Playbook and listen to the old episodes.
Yeah, if you just look up the Indie Playbook and look up Erik Abel, look at my name, whatever, you'll find it. Actually, you know what? You can go to focusednoise.com, FOCUSEDNOISE, and it has all the episodes. I should have thought that earlier, but yeah, you can go
Cool.
there. There's like 17, 18 episodes, including the one with Sean Healy.
Hey, awesome, man. Well, dude, thank you so much, bro. And it's been great. And, thank you for your time.
Thanks. Appreciate it. We'll
Stay
talk
safe,
soon.
man. All right.
All right, you too. All right, peace.
All right, you guys, that was Erik Abel. So hopefully you guys got some good advice. We have all these episodes will be available on our Spotify, YouTube, and IGTV. So go back and listen and watch the other ones because we're really giving you guys like great advice right now for the crazy times. So all the past stuff, like I said, you can find it on our YouTube, WeBook Bands. There's a link in the bio. Remember to put your email in there, so we'll send you reminders. And we look forward to seeing you guys on the next one, which will be December 18th. And that's with Topher Christensen of T Presents. That's going to be promoter to promoter. So I'll be talking to him about what's he going to do, like how's he navigating through this. So December 18th, promoter to promoter, you'll find out about it on the newsletter. So please put your email in there. And then after that, January 29th, we'll be with Ty Cannon, who is A&R for Aftermath. And we'll be talking about record deals and all that good stuff. So I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Again, we're having a big sale at shpmarket.com. You can get the quality stuff, hoodies. Everything goes on sale on Black Friday, 20% off. There'll be a passcode, but you can support us by buying our merch. That's what helps us pay for our employees that are furloughed. We're still paying their health insurance. So when you buy merch from our store, it helps. So if you want to donate that way, if you got some information here, go to shpmarket.com and grab an SHP shirt. Okay. You guys have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you, Buster. Thank you, David. And thank you, Jack. Did you guys see Jack? He was here the whole time. Jack, come here. Come here. There he is. What's he doing? Jack sat, there he is. You did good, dude. That's Jack. Jack sat there the entire time and was behind my back. So again, December 18th, Topher Christensen, T Presents, January 29th, Ty Cannon, Aftermath, and the last one in February, whatever the last Friday in February is, will be Atron Gregory, Tupac Digital Underground manager. So you guys have a blessed Thanksgiving. Again, you can support us at shpmarket.com. Grab an SHP t-shirt or hoodie or beanie. The money goes to help pay for our health insurance fund for our guys that are laid off. Thank you and be blessed. Peace.